Hi and welcome to Reddit Confessions. This story begins with the sound of my wife laughing, but not at home. She texted me at 9:58 p.m. while I was on the porch, watering the dying rosemary plant she promised she'd take care of. The message? It read, "I'm not your property. I'll be late. Don't call." No name, no emoji, no explanation, but there was laughter behind her text. Not from her, but from someone with her. A man. Deep voice. Confident. Close. Like he didn't care I'd hear him. I don't know why, but I played the voice message she accidentally attached. 5 seconds of background noise that changed everything. Laughter. Her voice. And then him. He won't do anything. He never does. And maybe he was right. Maybe I was the man who never did anything. Never checked her lies. Never pressed when the math didn't add up. Never asked why she now locked her phone at night, or why she started wearing makeup just to go get gas. Could have waited. Let it build. Let her dig herself deeper. But something inside me, something tired, took over. I texted back. "I'm not your husband anymore. Don't come back." Then I turned off my phone. Just shut it down completely. No buzzing. No lights. No more waiting around to be hurt one more time. 10 minutes later, when I turned it back on, there were 20 missed calls. She wasn't laughing anymore. When I finally turned my phone back on, the notifications didn't hit all at once. It was like the device itself needed a second to understand what had happened. Then, suddenly, they came, messages stacking over each other, call alerts flooding in, her name flashing again and again. 20 missed calls. 3 voicemails. 5 new texts. The last one just said, "What do you mean don't come back? Daryl? Answer me." She only used my name when she was scared. I didn't respond. Instead, I sat there in silence, staring at the kitchen wall like it might somehow explain how I ended up here. Married to someone I clearly didn't recognize anymore. I thought of our wedding day. She wore silver flats instead of heels because she said, "Comfort matters more than vanity." That version of her would have laughed at the woman she had become. Heels so high she couldn't walk straight, ego sharp enough to cut through any apology. I walked down the hall past our shared bedroom. The door was half open. I hadn't gone in there since she started sleeping on her side, like it was enemy territory. I pushed it open fully, flicked on the light, and that's when I noticed something strange. Her closet was open, and half her clothes were gone. At first, I thought maybe I was imagining things. Maybe laundry day, maybe dry cleaning. But then I noticed something worse. The small suitcase, the navy one with the broken zipper, gone. And her spare keys were missing from the hook near the door. She had already planned to leave before she sent that text. "Don't call," she'd written, because she knew I'd try. Because she knew she wasn't coming home. She had already chosen him. Suddenly, those 20 missed calls weren't panic over a breakup. They were fear that I'd found out before she could control the story. I opened her nightstand drawer. She never let me near it. Inside was a second phone, one I'd never seen before. Burner. No case. No wallpaper. Just a list of unsaved numbers and messages from a contact named L. I opened the most recent thread. The last message said, "He won't know anything. I'll be out before midnight." So I sat back, cracked my knuckles, and smiled for the first time in months. Because now I knew exactly what she was running from. And I had no intention of letting her rewrite this story. I sat with that second phone in my hands for almost 15 minutes. Not saying a word. Just breathing. Just processing. Her whole second life was sitting in my palm. A life she thought I'd never discover. A life with someone else, someone named L, who clearly knew more about our marriage than I did. The burner phone had no fingerprint lock, no passcode, nothing. Like it was meant to be disposable. I scrolled through the messages. They went back 3 months. 3 months of secrets, late-night strategy meetings, and subtle jabs at me. He's too soft to ever fight back. He doesn't even ask questions. You could leave tonight and he'd still do your laundry next week. Each word lit a match in my chest. But then one message froze me. His parents still don't know. You're lucky. That inheritance is the only reason he's tolerable. That one line changed everything. It wasn't just betrayal. It was strategy. I wasn't just being cheated on, I was being used. She'd never cared about staying. She was waiting for my mom to pass. Waiting for the payout. Waiting to walk away clean with half of what I built. And none of the guilt. That's when the idea hit me. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't scream. I took pictures, every message, every timestamp, every lie. I saved them to a cloud account I created right then and there. I renamed the folder, If I Ever Doubt Myself Again. And then I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. My cousin Reed. Reed isn't subtle. He isn't polite. He's the guy your parents warn you about when you're a kid. Too smart, too fast, too good at finding things that don't want to be found. We'd fallen out years ago over something stupid. But tonight, I needed him. He picked up on the second ring. Daryl, it's me. I think she's leaving tonight. I found a second phone. I need to know where she is. Right now. Reed didn't ask why. He just asked for the license plate number of her car. I gave it to him and he said, "Give me 30 minutes. Took 23. She was at a condo complex on the far side of town. Not downtown, not upscale, the kind of place where people rent by the month, no questions asked. Reed sent me a blurry photo from across the street. Her car was there, and so was a second one. A dark green sedan with New Hampshire plates. Then came the message that made my stomach twist. Top floor. Lights on. Shades open. You still want to do this? I didn't respond. I just got in my car. Because some stories aren't meant to end quietly. The drive to the condo felt unreal. My hands were steady, but my brain kept skipping ahead. Imagining her opening the door, the look on her face, the lies forming before she even saw me. My car moved through the city like I was watching someone else drive it, like I was just a passenger in the worst night of my life. When I pulled up to the address Reed sent me, I killed the headlights early and parked half a block down. Her car was there. His too. I double-checked the plates. I sat for a full minute just watching the building. No movement at the windows, no shadows crossing the blinds. Just soft, dim light glowing out of the top unit. It looked like a room that wasn't worried about being seen. I wasn't going to knock. That wasn't the point. I wasn't there to beg. I wasn't even there to yell. I just needed to see it, to make it real. You'd be amazed how far denial can stretch when you're desperate to preserve a lie. I walked up the narrow stairwell quietly, 3 floors up. No elevator. The paint was peeling, and someone had scratched a name into the wall on the second landing. Lana, 2020. When I reached the top, I paused outside the door. Apartment 3C. I didn't hear anything. No voices. No music. Just that eerie silence that comes with heavy walls and bad choices. And then I noticed something strange. The door wasn't shut all the way. Not wide open, but not locked either. I pushed gently. It creaked. Not loud, but enough to make the hairs on my arms rise. The hallway was dark, but I could see into the living room. 1 wine glass on the table. A second one shattered on the floor. Panic kicked in. Not for her, but for what I was about to walk into. This was a mistake. I should have turned around. I should have never. That's when I heard her voice. Low. Choked. Like she was trying not to cry. No, just don't. Don't talk to me like that. A man answered. Cold. Flat. You said he wouldn't care. You said he wouldn't do anything. What happens now? I inched forward. The bedroom door was cracked open. I could see shadows moving. She wasn't laughing now. She sounded small, like a child who'd finally gotten caught. I didn't step in. I didn't say a word. I turned around, walked back down the stairs, and sat in my car for another hour. I could have blown up her world right then. I had proof. I had location. I had that burner phone with every text saved and timestamped. But something in me shifted that night, because I realized she didn't deserve the satisfaction of a breakdown. She deserved precision, and I was going to give it to her. I didn't sleep that night, not a single second. I sat in the dark with my phone in one hand and her second phone in the other, scrolling through her messages again, not to hurt myself, but to study her. She wasn't just cheating. She was careless, arrogant. She treated me like a placeholder. someone to pay bills, feed the dog, and stay out of her way. Every text to Elle had the same tone. Detached, mocking, like I was just an unfortunate obstacle she had to put up with until she cashed out. But now I knew where she went, who she was with, how long it had been going on. And most importantly, I knew how she thought. So I started watching. Not in person. Not through confrontation. That's messy. No, I went digital. She'd once logged into her Apple ID on my old iPad and forgot to sign out. That gave me access to everything. Calendar events, app downloads, even real-time locations if she had Find My left on. And she did. Of course she did. People like her never imagine they're being watched until it's too late. I saw every trip she took. Every night she claimed she was working late. She was with him, in different places across the city. Hotel rooms, Airbnbs. One time, even a spa resort that she paid for using a card linked to my backup account. She didn't even try to hide it. But here's where things turned. I didn't confront her. I smiled, because I knew her pattern now. I knew when she'd come home. I knew when she'd be distracted. And I used that time to prepare. First, I spoke to my lawyer, a woman named Sierra who does divorce like it's a contact sport. She took one look at the evidence and said, "If you stay calm, I can get you everything." Second, I spoke to my mother, the one my wife was waiting on, the inheritance target. She's not dying, by the way. She's just a quiet woman who doesn't post her life online. I explained everything. My mother didn't cry. She didn't even look surprised. She just said, "Take your time. But when you're ready, burn it all down." And third, and this was the hardest, I started pretending nothing was wrong. I smiled when she came home. I kissed her forehead. I listened to her lies about traffic and deadlines. And when she wasn't looking, I packed away little pieces of my life. Box by box, password by password, bank account by bank account. I transferred everything I owned into a trust. Quietly, legally, permanently, because the goal wasn't to explode. It was to disappear beneath her feet without making a sound. And when she finally noticed, that's when the real game would begin. Started small. The charger she always borrowed from my nightstand, gone. The backup toothbrush I kept in the bathroom drawer, gone. My favorite hoodie that she always stole when she was cold, missing. She noticed, but she didn't say anything, because she thought she was still in control. She thought I didn't know. Thought I was still asleep in the marriage she had already checked out of. So when my belongings started disappearing, she didn't confront me. She just watched, closely, nervously, like someone standing on a frozen lake, hearing cracks beneath their feet, but too proud to admit it. A week passed, then two. I kept smiling. I made her coffee every morning, asked about her meetings, played along when she pretended she was stressed about work. She even tried to initiate intimacy one night, for the first time in months, and I gently brushed her hand away like she was a stranger. I didn't say no. I just said, "I'm tired," and I saw the flicker of something behind her eyes. She wasn't used to rejection, especially not from me. By the third week, the house started to feel colder. Not physically, emotionally. She didn't play music anymore. She barely spoke. I caught her checking the safe in our closet twice when she thought I was in the garage. I hadn't touched it. I didn't need to. Everything important had already been moved. And then, finally, the spark hit the gasoline. I came home late on a Thursday, intentionally, and found her pacing in the kitchen. She turned when she heard the door. "Where were you?" I shrugged. "Just out." She blinked. "Out where?" I smiled. "Now you care." That's all I said. I walked past her, straight to the fridge, pulled out a bottle of water, and left her standing there in silence. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I didn't answer anything. And the moment I disappeared into the bedroom, I knew exactly what she was doing behind me, calling him L. I knew the script by now. She'd say I was acting strange. She'd ask if he thought I was seeing someone. She'd hint at finally leaving. But this time, she didn't sound confident. She sounded cornered. She was feeling it. The shift. The control she thought she had was slipping. Not because I took it, but because she never actually had it. I was just letting her believe she did. And now that belief was dying. Quietly, piece by piece. Just like our marriage. It happened on a Sunday. She came home early from yoga. Without a mat, without sweat. And without even realizing she still had the hotel keycard in her coat pocket. She tossed her purse down harder than usual. Her steps were fast. Purposeful. She was about to confront me. I was already in the living room, sitting with my laptop, working. Or at least pretending to. I didn't look up when she walked in. "Daryl," she said. Her voice was shaky, but wrapped in fake confidence. The kind people use when they think they're still in charge of a conversation that already left them behind. I looked up. "Yeah. We need to talk." I closed the laptop slowly. No drama. Just calm. "Sure." She stood there, arms crossed. "Are you seeing someone?" I smiled. Not a wide smile. Just enough to let her know she'd lost control of the question. "Is that what you're worried about?" I asked. "I mean," she hesitated, glancing around the room, suddenly aware that something felt off. Fewer photos on the shelves. Her favorite wine missing from the rack. "You've been different." I leaned back in the chair and nodded. "Yeah, I have." She shifted her weight. "So, what does that mean?" I paused, then gave her the softest blow I could. "It means I know Evelyn." That name hung in the room like a thunderclap. She froze, visibly, hands clenching, jaw locking. "Know what?" I tilted my head. "That you're not going to yoga. That Elle isn't a woman. That you've been preparing to leave since March. That you've been making backup copies of our joint financial records and texting him from a second phone you kept in the nightstand." Her face drained. Gone was the bluff. Gone was the performance. Now she was just standing in the middle of the room, exposed, cornered, helpless. "You've gone through my things?" "No," I said calmly. "I went through the things you left lying around because you thought I was too stupid to notice. There's a difference." She opened her mouth, closed it, sat down slowly like her legs had stopped working. "You've known this whole time?" I nodded. She shook her head. "Then why didn't you say anything? Why act normal?" I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. "Because I needed time. To move the money. To shift the legal ties. To reroute the business accounts. To quietly remove you from the will you were waiting for." Her mouth opened in shock, but no sound came out. "And now," I said, rising to my feet, "we're done." "But Daryl, I didn't." "You did," I said, cutting her off. "And you thought you'd get away with it because I was quiet. Because I cook. Because I forgive. But you mistook patience for weakness." She stood again, trembling. "Please, let's talk. Let's fix this." I stared at her. "You didn't want to fix this. You wanted to escape without consequence." Then I handed her an envelope. Inside, copies of the texts, legal documents, the name of the attorney representing me, and a rental lease for a furnished apartment across town, already paid for 3 months in advance. "You don't live here anymore," I said, "and tomorrow the locks change." She looked at the envelope like it was a bomb. "You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious." She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just walked out and never came back. But the story doesn't end there. It's been 8 months. I live in a smaller house now. No shared closets. No ghosted dinner plates. Just me. A dog I adopted on a random Tuesday, and a new coffee machine that doesn't remind me of anyone. Some people say revenge is loud, flashy, destructive. Mine was silent, clean, legal. I never raised my voice. I never embarrassed her. I simply made it so that every door she thought she had access to closed. She didn't fight the divorce. She couldn't. My lawyer was too good, and her paper trail was too sloppy. In the end, she left with exactly what she brought into the marriage. Nothing. As for Elle, he disappeared the moment she lost the house, the money, and the illusion of power. No apartment. No romantic new life. Just silence. I guess he liked the game, not the prize. Sometimes I still catch myself standing in the kitchen at night, out of habit, waiting for a message that will never come. But then I remember that message, her last one, the one that started it all. I'm not your property. I'll be late. Don't call. And I smile. Because she was right. She was never mine. And now, I'm finally mine again. If you've ever been in a situation where someone underestimated you, or tried to quietly betray you, tell us about it in the comments. What did you do? What would you have done? We read everything.